census taker once tried to test me. I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
You choose me?
I choose violence.
Come on, let's get into character.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 261, our sixth anniversary of Throwdown Thursday. We're very excited.
Happy birthday, Throwdown Thursday!
And we are here broadcasting live, for real this time, live from the Pat Cave.
With horrible lighting. Thank you for doing me justice on this live show.
You always look amazing, so it doesn't matter. We, of course, are brought to you by the Dorkening Network, and as such, we are sponsored by Deadly Grounds Coffee. And I am your host, Patsy the Angry Nerd, but you can call me Patsy the Angry Nerd. And I am joined, of course, as you can see, by my co-host on the show, my co-host in life. She is the Baroness of Bordeaux, the Countess of Cabernet, the Queen Regent of Rosé, the Mistress of Merlot, the Real Housewife of Transylvania, the Michael Phelps of Wine, the Queen of the Monsters, and an honorary Lizzie. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Ashes Von Nightmare.
She is trying to find her light. Hello, bear with me.
Your light is fine. You look great. You always look great. And then
your opinion is invalid because you are paid to say as such.
I am not
You
paid.
are contractually obligated to give me compliments.
There's no such thing as that. Marriage. And then there's me. I'm an angry nerd. So yeah, we are doing this live. Doesn't look like anybody's watching yet, so that's okay, because we still have.
Don't tell people that. There are millions of people watching right now, and you could be one of them.
You are one of them.
You are one of them.
But yeah, we are here because, like we said, it is our 6th anniversary, and as such, we are taking a little bit of a look back. And we're going to be discussing some of the characters that we covered over the past 6 years, some of our favorites, our 6 favorites with multiple honorable mentions, because that's how we do it. And some characters that we'd like to cover going forward. So we are looking forward to comments from people, because we want folks to suggest some of the characters that they want us to cover. Because after all, this is, partially this is about us, but in reality, we want to give you guys the entertainment that you are looking for. And can I just say the awesome Patsy Shark Jaws painting up behind me? It just looks awesome. Crystal Carnage is amazing. Check out Ocular Deceptions. There's a lot of stuff that's up there that is going to continue to be up there, because and be added as we go along, because she's phenomenally talented, and she's just going to keep adding stuff that you can buy and put into your house. I've seen the work she's done with furniture, with painting, with special effects. She's super talented. So Ashes, how are you doing on the 6th anniversary of Throwdown Thursday?
Well, I just got home from work like 5 minutes ago, so I'm doing great.
Yeah, we're not at work anymore. That's the important
well,
part.
that's what I'm saying. I'm not at work anymore, so I am great.
And,
I'd be even better if I could find my light.
What light?
Your fat head is now in my way.
I don't know where you want me to go. How you want me to go? Which way?
You're doing me dirty right now.
I don't know.
You're doing me so dirty with this lighting. No, this isn't. You just leave it. Just leave it.
I don't know what you want.
No, but you are doing me so dirty with this lighting right now.
I don't know what you want.
You are gonna have to make it up to me later.
Yeah, well,
not in that way. In the form of like wine contributions. I'm sorry for making you look terrible on the live show.
That's not possible.
Have some wine.
That's not possible.
No. And this angle is not doing me any favors either.
Listen, I was slaving over a hot keyboard
Doing
all
what?
day, getting all this stuff together.
Well, you didn't get everything set up.
Well, I did, but I didn't know which angles to put things because you weren't here, so I couldn't re-anglify it.
I'll just drink till I look pretty.
Oh, that won't take long. But before we get going, because we do have some sensitive stuff to talk about, I just want to give this this parental warning before we go.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Well, if it's for mature people, I should leave because, as you guys have known, listening to the show for the past 6 years, I lack much maturity. But it's biological. I'm only 40. When who says when I'm supposed to be a mature adult?
Mature adult?
I mean, I suppose I could find some and get some lessons because I'm always seeing that there are mature singles in my area, on all these different ads. So maybe they can show me how to be mature.
And a lot of them are named Christian.
Yes. And I'm going to mingle
a lot
with
of
them.
Single people named Christian in my inbox.
Yes. Christian single mingle. Single? I don't know.
Sure.
But we do have, I think we should start off the show by going with our first voicemail, because we did get a voicemail from our good buddy Coop, who is unfortunately not able to join us this evening, but he did send along a little audio message. So let's see what Coop sent us. Oh, let me turn the volume.
Already been covered by the show, and the top 6 yet to come. I think there's going to be some that are not so surprising and some that are surprising. So let's start off. Number 1, obviously, Booster Gold. So that was where we met each other, and that was the character that I had brought in. Number 2, Carol Spinney, a.k.a. Big Bird. What a great show. Really passionate about it. A lot of stuff I learned on that one, and just what a great guy. I was really excited to do that one. Next one, in the vein of that, one of my all-time favorite shows. If anybody ever asked me for what would you submit to an award show for Throwdown Thursday, your Mr. Fred Rogers episode, absolutely awesome. Okay, the next one is one that I have listened to several times. This is your episode all about Kirby. I had no idea that Kirby was that interesting. So I forget if you called it Kirby Your Enthusiasm or anything, but that was a really great episode. Very happy. Like I said, I've listened to it about 3 times. Next one, Hannibal Lecter. Dr. Lecter. You liked it so much that you put it in the theme song. How could I refuse? It's such a great episode, really passionate. And I mean, this is like one of Patsy's big characters. So it's one that really comes through and really shines through. The last one will probably surprise you. It's a theme rather than just a singular character. But the breakfast monsters that you did, Count Chocula, Frankenberry, Berry Boo, Fruit Brute, Yummy Mummy. I thought that was really cool. I liked it. I liked the contrast from, what you had done the previous year with the Universal Monsters, and I thought it was really cool. Now, yet to come, I've got these Storm from the X-Men. Great character, just such a compelling story, and there's so much to unpack there. And I think that, with the actresses that have played her and all that, I think you'd have a lot to talk about. Next one, Lieutenant Commander Spock from Star Trek. I am not sure that I'm aware of much Star Trek that you've delved into. You've definitely talked about the films and all that, but I would say Lieutenant Commander Spock would be one to kind of kick off a good discussion. It'll lead into other things. If you're looking for a good character on the original series, I feel like he's the linchpin. The next one is one that I'm sure you're aware of from a scientific perspective, but maybe your listeners aren't. Henrietta Lacks. So if you look that up, I had read a book called The Secret Life of Henrietta Lacks, or The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. And I think that would be really fitting to fit in kind of with everything that you and Ashes talk about. Next one, Scrooge McDuck from DuckTales, from the Uncle Scrooge comics, from all of that, the DuckTales, Genie and the Lamp, all that. I think that would be really cool. And I'd be really interested to hear what your research pulls up on this. And I think it'd be a cool character to cover. And you've got David Tennant doing the voice of Uncle Scrooge McDuck now. And finally, another series that I'd be looking for you to cover, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. It was so big when we were growing up, and it's just a circumstance now with all this hype coming out. I'd really like to hear some deep dive character work on this. So, I'm interested to hear what you come up with. All right, guys, those are the 6 characters that I've loved that you've covered, and 6 characters yet to come. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Coop. It's funny because we also made our own lists as Ashes is opening up the strawberry champagne. I had Hannibal on my list. Of course, I also have, some honorable mentions.
You? Honorable mentions? No.
But He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
Face. I mean, and I feel like that's going to be one that we should cover sooner rather than later
because that comes out in July.
Right. And I feel like this whole is it a reimagining? Is it a reboot?
It's like a reimagining, like because a lot of the characters that we grew up with, the way they acted, just watching the trailer, and if you didn't get the chance, I did a live trailer reaction to the new trailer for the animated series that Kevin Smith is putting out, with some great voices, including Mark Hamill as Skeletor
and Lena Headey.
Yep, Lena Headey is in it
as Evil Lyn.
Is she Evil Lyn? I thought she was the sorceress. Evil Lyn. Let me let's pull it up. Fortunately, I have the extent of all the world's knowledge at my fingertips. Let's see. He-Man. Is this the new one? Let's see. Yes, Diedrich Bader as King Randor, Liam Cunningham, who you know as Sir Davos Seaworth, as Man-at-Arms, Sarah Michelle Gellar as Tila, Mark Hamill as Skeletor, Lena Headey as Evil Lyn, Justin Long as Roboto, who I'm a huge fan of Roboto. I have the action figure, and if you watch that reaction video, you saw me with him. Griffin Newman, who was in The Tick, he is playing Orko.
I decided I want this cup.
Okay.
That cup.
All right, so to 6 years.
Clinky, 6 years. Happy birthday. What day is today? It's Throwdown Thursday's birthday.
What a day for a birthday. Let's all have some cake. And you smell like 1, 2. So we have cake. So Alan Oppenheimer, who was actually in the original, he played Skeletor, I believe. He is playing Moss Man. Stephen Root is Cringer. Alicia Silverstone is Queen Marlena. And Chris Wood will be playing He-Man. But yeah, He-Man is definitely on my list.
That's a really good cast.
Yeah, it's a very good cast.
This is also really good cake.
It is. I haven't had the cake yet, but I will take your word for it. Let me run over, because I know, not run, because I'm not going anywhere, because I know we had a couple of folks also suggest some characters for us. So Gail has suggested that we cover Loki, who I did not have on my list. Harley Quinn,
which we actually already covered.
Yep, we did recently. Ashley J. Williams, who we have not covered.
We have not covered Ash.
Deadpool, which we have not covered.
No, I don't think we have.
We've talked about him a little bit, and we talked about the movie, but if we're going to cover Deadpool and talk Deadpool, we got to have Old Man Wade on the show. But that's a good one. Let's see, what else does she have on their list here? Art the Clown. We actually interviewed both David Howard Thornton and Damian Leone a while back.
Yeah, we talked about Art the Clown and
Terrifier 2 and
the concept of the character, where it came from, a little peek behind the curtain as to some of the prosthetics and stuff. So that was, talk about two really cool guests to have on.
Yeah, and especially when they're both working on the same project.
Right. Super personable, knowledgeable. And, David Howard Thornton, he's hilarious.
Yeah, if you ever get a chance to see him at a convention.
Like so incredibly nice. If you ever have the opportunity to go to a convention, because guess what? They're coming
He
back.
was at one about a week or so ago.
Just super cool. Super cool.
Harley we covered. Art we covered. The last one she had on the list was Rupert from Buffy. I never watched Buffy, so I'm totally unfamiliar.
I've been told that I need to. So I was never into Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I did see the movie. I did like the movie.
I
but
remember seeing a porno called
series.
Buffy the Vampire Layer, and they were killing vampires with silver dildos.
Okay. Oh, gosh. I guess I can cross that off my list of things to do. But yeah, I haven't seen it yet. I was never really into it growing up. I don't know if I was just kind of missed, maybe a little too young when it came out to really get interested in it. So
yeah, it wasn't my thing, and I never watched the follow-up or anything. But Coop mentioned what episode we would submit for an awards ceremony, which is a flimsy pretext to talk about the first annual Amalgamania Podcast and Entertainment Awards, which will be hosted by the two of us. And look at this trophy you can get. Well, not this particular one. We have the different categories.
You will get an actual personalized trophy with your show name on it, and the category that you win. But yeah, so it's the first annual Amalgamania Podcast and Entertainment Awards. Submissions are currently open. The deadline is July 4th, so you still have time. You can go to www.amalga-mania.com for more information about submissions, the different categories available. I believe there are six of them, 5 or 6.
I actually have it pulled up right here. So you can submit for best host, best short form, best long form, best visual media. So if you do Twitch or YouTube, and best interview. So we have quite a few. We're looking at the spreadsheet right there. We have quite a few submissions, but we can always use more, help push some of the other shows on there.
And the purpose of this, it is an award show created by independent content creators for independent content creators. It's not one of these award shows that's going to cost you an arm and a leg to submit. It's not one of these award shows that's going to favor some of these larger podcasts that are monetized by,
right. We're not going to
celebrities.
We're not going to charge you $100 for an entry fee just to go up against like Joe Rogan or Kevin Smith.
Right. Like that's not the purpose of this at all. The purpose is to acknowledge and celebrate independent content creators.
The folks that are doing it themselves and don't have a huge production team.
Right. The people who are putting their own money into it, who are putting their own time into it. The people who have been
folks like
working, working hard, especially during the pandemic, to put out content for others to enjoy. That's the purpose of this. We want to celebrate you. So if you are a podcaster or an independent content creator, or if you know a podcaster or independent content creator that you want to recognize, submit them.
Yeah, let them know. Because we're still taking submissions, and then we're going to start judging, and then we'll start giving out awards.
And like I said, go to Amalga. That's AMALGA.
Hold on, I'll put a banner up.
Mania.com for more information.
Yes, I'll put a banner up. Oh, it's www. I never put the dot anymore.
Dot.
Isn't that an episode of Pete and Pete? Where Pete's friend, the girl, she was in marching band and she was supposed to be the dot on the I. And she kind of like goes, I don't know if she goes crazy, but she's just sit there like she's chanting. She's like, I am the dot. I am the dot. Yeah, go to that place right there.
That's the website. Go there.
Where am I pointing? Right here. This is
and
hard.
Look at this. This thing. Ooh, it's so solid and so
rock
thick.
hard.
Ooh. And it's so much bigger than I thought it was going to be. Oh man.
That's what she did.
I bet you can't wait to take this home. But yeah, it's very solid acrylic. Very nice trophy. I'm a huge fan of this. We are not involved other than hosting and judging, so we're not going to be submitting.
We are not submitting, but we are participating. We know who the judges are, so if you want to submit and then have it swing a certain way, pay us $40. And we'll see what we can do.
Yes. So,
but it has to be $40.
Yes, and send
40.
Yes, $40. So
$40.
Let's get into a couple of the characters we picked that we liked, because I have a feeling we may have some overlap.
We might. We'll see.
But
okay, so
I'm
my
guessing
thing is
not a lot.
I only have one honorable mention for each. I really
I have two honorable mentions. I have 6 that we covered, but one of them is and then 2 honorable mentions. So do you want me to go first, or would you like to go first?
I'll go first.
All right.
Let me get out my list.
Yes, I will drink some wine out of the Skull Hand cup.
Okay, so do you want me to give all of mine? Or
No,
just
go with the first one.
Okay, so my number 6 is, it just says Marvel. So we have covered a lot of Marvel characters, and we have yet to cover a lot of Marvel characters. But one of the things that I really enjoy doing is covering a comic book character before the film comes out. I have mentioned on the show before, I'm not that big into comic books, or at least I am now. I'm getting, interested in comic books. But when I was growing up and stuff, I wasn't interested in comic books at all. And now it's almost overwhelming trying to get into it. There are so many different storylines and so many different characters within these storylines and different universes. And it's just, your mind just kind of implodes a bit trying to think of all of the different things that are happening in these universes, in these storylines, in these within these comic book characters, because these characters have been around for decades at this point.
Yeah, even Spider-Man, 60 years old.
Some of them have been around for almost 100 years.
Yeah, Captain America came out in 1941. Namor the Submariner, 1939. Superman, 1939.
I mean, didn't Batman come out in 19?
They just had the 75th anniversary a few years. Yeah, they all came out in the 30s.
Right. So
Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, 30s and 40s. That was the golden age.
So much history and so much background for these characters. And what these films do is, they take from some of these storylines. Obviously most of these films kind of create their own storylines and kind of, create their own history within these characters, but they also do playful nods to certain things within the comic books that you would only know about if you read the comic books.
Right. So
one of the things that I love that we do is we cover these characters. We try to touch base on the histories. We try to, we do all the research. We get people, some of my favorite things that we've done have been these huge roundtable discussions about these characters, like the Black Panther episode, which was phenomenal, by the way.
Where we met Mark Wade, Old Man Wade, and Ian Wallace for the first time.
Yeah, if you have not listened to our Black Panther episode, it is absolutely phenomenal.
It's called Back in Black. And we came up with a great battle for that one too.
We did. And also the roundtable discussion that we had with quite a few folks, our podcasting friends, some Amalgamania people, about the Avengers themselves. This was before Infinity War and Endgame came out, trying to see how they were going to kind of tie up some loose ends. And were they going to, were they going to introduce some new characters, some things you can be looking out for, and, introducing, like Doctor Strange, the Doctor Strange episode. I had no idea who Doctor Strange was. I knew that I wanted to see the film because I enjoy watching Benedict Cumberbatch act. And I can't believe I just said his name right on the first try.
Bumble Scrum Cabbage
First try. But anyways, learning about this character, learning about, what this character offers to the universe around it, the history of this character. I was prepared going into seeing the film so that I knew things. I wasn't sitting there going, well, why is he doing that? Well, why is this happening? Why is that happening? You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to be that annoying
What happened
person.
to his hands? Why is his hands all
like, I don't
beat
have
up?
to be like, why is he doing that? Like,
who is
no,
Chiwetel Ejiofor for?
I know things, and and I can look for certain things too. Like, I know who some of these secondary and tertiary characters are. I know the importance of some of these characters. I know the importance of some of the props that are introduced as well.
The Eye of Agamotto, the Time Stone,
right?
Whatnot.
The cape and everything. So I just had to put Marvel on there because we've covered so many different Marvel characters. We went through after WandaVision, we did an episode on that. After Falcon and Winter Soldier, we did an episode on that.
Sam the Eagle and Bucky with the good hair.
Bucky with the good hair.
So, covering some of these characters, gives you a really good idea. We tried to kind of condense some of the history and some of the lore around these characters too. And we tried to put into context what we think will be beneficial for you to knowing what's going on with the Marvel universe. That now, where we're entering a different phase in the Marvel universe, we'll have to cover, and we'll have to do this again. I'm looking at you, Eternals. I'm looking at you, the other one,
Shang-Chi.
Yes.
Black Widow.
We don't necessarily. We kind of touch base on Black Widow here and there.
Well, there's other characters that are in there, like Taskmaster, who is a very phenomenal character.
Oh, is that David Harbour?
No, I forget who he is, but Taskmaster is a guy who, if he sees something, he can replicate it physically. Like, he became a high school star quarterback after watching an NFL game because he watched somebody throw 50 yards, so then he could throw 50 yards.
Wow.
So he would watch.
Oh, that's kind of rad.
Yeah, so he would, like, that's his power. Like, he's not like super strong or anything, but he could match the fighting skill, so he could hold his own against guys like Captain America, Wolverine, Spider-Man.
Like, similar to a rogue-like character, but she needs to touch you to
she takes your powers.
Yeah.
He just can do what you do. Like, if he watched Captain America fight for half an hour, he could then do everything Captain America did in that fight.
Okay.
I forget exactly what the power is called, but it's photokinetic reflexes, something like that. Like, if he sees it, he can do it. Obviously not like shoot lasers out of his hand or fly, but if he watches great martial arts fighters, he can then be a great martial. Like, he's, I think he's a metahuman. I don't know. This is why we need to do an episode on it, because I don't know as much about him as all I know is base level powers, and he has one of the cooler outfits, and he's in the Marvel vs. Capcom game. So I'm gonna do my my honorable mentions first, because they kind of touch on what you were touching on. And my two honorable mentions are Avengers Friend Game and Thanos The Hands of Fate, because those are ones where we had, I think, like 12 people, like, between in studio and calling in on Skype, and it was nutty.
I'm gonna say just to kind of cut in momentarily, one of my favorite things about podcasting is that it gives us an excuse to like have our friends on the show and to just completely nerd out with our friends. And the fact that people actually want to listen to that is kind of rad.
Well, I mean, that's, last night I joined the Dorkening Wednesday show, which I don't normally do, but they were going to be discussing Jaws. And so that show, I think, normally goes an hour, went for 2 hours, because Brandon and I can't shut up when we're both on the same show. And, to kind of touch on what you were saying about how, if you're familiar with the comics, you get to see, some of your favorite storylines. Like my favorite storyline is the Infinity Gauntlet. They made it slightly different, still sticking to, some core similarities, but they made it slightly different. And, that's what we were discussing about the new Flash movie. Like, is it going to be the Flashpoint paradox? Are we going to have Thomas Wayne? And it's like, well, why don't we, hopefully it's just introducing the multiverse, and the Flash can travel between multiverses. That's why he gets to see Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne, as opposed to Ben Affleck. Maybe he just goes to different places. Maybe it's not resetting the timeline. I'm hoping that's not what they do. I'm hoping they're doing the multiverse thing, because they tend to, try to copy what Marvel does, albeit not as successfully, because Marvel spent, a couple of, I'd say a series of summers getting their stuff ready and setting up their big conflict. Whereas DC used some emails in the Batman Superman movie. So, but yeah, Avengers.
Wait, is that real? Is that real life? It was just emails back and forth?
Well, don't you remember? That's how they introduced Aquaman, the Flash,
Cyborg. Yeah, in the film.
Yes, that's what they did.
I thought you meant like
emails.
they were just emailing, like, hey.
Well, instead of like,
movie.
Oh, here's a trilogy of Captain America. Here's a trilogy of Captain America movies. Here's a trilogy of Iron Man movies. Here's a trilogy of Thor movies. No, it's like, no, look, there's an email. Can you imagine if there was just an email, like 10-second video file of the Guardians of the Galaxy? You wouldn't know what the fuck was going on.
You wouldn't care about them.
Right. So, and the other thing that Brandon pointed out, and I thought is a great point, horror directors taking on comic book films tend to do very well. Patty Jenkins did Monster.
Yeah.
James Wan did Saw, and he did Aquaman. Andy Muschietti is doing the new, I think he's doing the Flash movie. He's either doing Flash or the new Shazam. I forget which. James Gunn, who did Slither and apparently worked for Troma for years. Obviously Guardians of the Galaxy, now the second Suicide Squad movie, which is probably why King Shark is as violent and vicious as he is, which I love. Bird. Yeah, they just released a new trailer. I don't know if
did they? No,
I
haven't seen it.
But I'm excited for that, and I think with horror actors directors, Brandon's point was they're used to working on such small budgets that they're used to maximizing everything that they have. So, but yeah, Avengers Friendgame and Thanos, The Hands of Fate. Those are two of my favorite episodes. They're two of the longer episodes, but they're that long because we had so many people and we were just like rampantly theorizing. Like we had the Civil War episode. Every time there was like a big Marvel movie coming out or a big Star Wars movie coming out, we would have our big theorizing. I mean, we did that on Shark Bites, where we had 2 months of Star Wars content.
Star Wars,
and it was amazing. Some of these episodes, like I think the shortest episode was 2.5 hours long, and the longest was like 4.5. It was awesome. But yeah, those are my honorable mentions. So what else have you got?
So, well, I'm going to throw down I'm going to throw down. I said the name of the thing.
That's the name of the podcast.
Oh my God. So I'm going to throw out my honorable mention, which is Linda Belcher.
Yes.
All right. I think she's just a really fun character. I enjoyed talking about her. And, one of the things I actually really like doing is, we're on the same page.
Mostly, yeah.
For a lot of things. But I like it when we're not.
Yeah, when we have arguments
like
over...
like the Cruella episode.
Yes, the Cruella episode. She killed puppies, go fuck herself.
That like, hey, you two didn't agree on something. It's like, you know what?
We don't
You're
always.
Correct.
We don't.
Right. No, and I think that I like being able to come at something with two opposing viewpoints. I think it makes for a very interesting...
Fixing the fan.
Okay.
There we go.
It's just
I can't reach from here, so I needed to use the bat to reach the fan, which is over there. For those of you who are watching, that's why I did that. If you are listening to this,
you don't know what just happened.
You don't know. You didn't see it.
So yeah, I really enjoyed talking about Linda Belcher. She's one of my favorite characters. Bob's Burgers has become a staple in this household.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you quote Simpsons, I quote Bob's
Burgers. I quote
Burgers.
everything.
Well, I mean, you
Simpsons
do.
the most.
The
yes.
most, but
I've got 32 years worth of Simpsons quotes built up.
Yeah, this is true.
So that's your honorable mention.
That's my honorable mention.
So
yes.
Number 6. I mean, I don't really have like an order. I just wrote down some of these, but let's throw out the one that Coop pointed out. Hannibal. It was a long time coming that we did a Hannibal episode. We were like well over 200 episodes by the time we finally got Hannibal.
I believe it was this calendar year.
Yeah, it was this year. It was a couple of months ago.
I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
That's the worst Hannibal ever. But yeah, we got to talk about Hannibal, which also
stop screaming, Clarice.
Also allowed us to discuss Clarice a little bit. Yeah, like it was like that was one of my favorite episodes because it was one that had been building up for quite some time.
I mean, Hannibal Lecter is one of your favorite horror villains.
Just one of my favorite
characters. Yeah.
In general, like the way he's written, like, you know, who he is, his backstory, how he came to be who he is. Like he would be a great Batman villain. Like he could be a supervillain in, you know, Marvel or DC continuity. Like he would be excellent. So what else you got?
So number 5 on my list, because there is an order to my madness here.
Number
5 is RuPaul. I really enjoyed doing the episode on RuPaul. Partially because of my love for drag and drag queens, partially because RuPaul has been a character part of my life for such a long time, like a long time. I remember when RuPaul had her talk show in the 90s with a very young Michelle Visage. So that was really cool. And it was really cool to talk about a person like that too. We did that last week with Divine.
Yes.
You know, talking about this person who plays this character. You know, RuPaul has starred as a character in certain things, but RuPaul herself is a character. And fun fact, a certain somebody in this room just went to their first drag show on Saturday night.
Yes, I did.
And I thought I was living my best life. Looked over at him. He was living his best life.
I got a rosé shirt.
Like he was getting his life. He was having his
and
cake and eating it.
It was raining.
It was raining.
Patsy and Ashes, I say hello. I don't know who is that.
It's this Facebook user. Well, let me
I know
look it up.
some Facebook user.
I can look it up.
Hello, whoever you are. Thank you for checking out the live show. I appreciate it. Oh, look it's First Time Mike.
Hello.
First Time Mike. Earlier today, Leo and I interviewed an Icelandic actor who looks very much like you. Oh, Wolfie. What's up, Wolfie?
Hello.
Yeah, for some reason it just shows Facebook user on our comments.
Yeah,
but thank you.
Sometimes StreamYard is a little weird, especially when it comes to Facebook.
First Time Mike says, you guys are the Nick and Nora Charles of podcasting and great friends of mine to boot. Thank you, First Time Mike.
Thank you.
First Time Mike is a guy who has been, you know, at our side since the very beginning, and he's awesome.
A class act through and through.
100%. And Wolfie is a guy that we only really met once we joined the Dorkening Network. We used to do a show on Sundays, and it was 10 o'clock for us, but Wolfie is in the Pacific Northwest, so he would be up super early. definitely check out his YouTube channel where he does a lot of awesome unboxings of the dollar store movies.
Yeah,
and others.
Horror films at the dollar store.
Yeah,
which I mean, you can find some rare gems in there.
Yeah, you can find some
also find
surprising stuff.
Not so rare gems.
Rare but not gems.
Rare but not gems. Yes.
Yes, they're rare for a reason, and it's not because they're valuable. So thank you guys for watching and tuning in. I appreciate it. If you guys have any characters you want us to cover, feel free to drop them in the comments, because that's what we're doing. We're talking about our characters at the moment. So you said RuPaul?
Yeah, I said RuPaul.
So for me, one, because watching this film, and we revisited this, but watching this film, no matter how many times I see it, it hits you right in the emotions, because it's so good. And as we do a sports podcast as well, this is a major part of our history. So for me, the Herb Brooks episode is one of my favorites.
Aww.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love I didn't
even put that on my list. I can't believe that.
I thought that was for sure going to be an overlap with you. But yeah, the Herb Brooks episode, if you haven't checked it out and you don't know, I agree, Ashes, they do have gems and turds at the dollar store. What is the question on characters? The question is, what are some characters that you've enjoyed hearing us cover, and or what are some characters you'd like to see us cover in the future? So that's what we're talking about now. So yeah, I think the Herb Brooks episode was awesome. And I learned a lot. We watch Miracle every year on the anniversary, and this year was the 41st anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
But we do that every year, and
it kind of kicked off talking about the characters that are real people. So not necessarily caricatures, but
how people are portrayed in various media.
Yeah,
even though they're real,
versus the real life person. Now, with Miracle, throughout all of our research and stuff, we realized that the portrayal of Kurt Russell's Herb Brooks was pretty spot on,
except for one scene, but we won't spoil that scene.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, if you have Disney Plus, it's there.
It's the story of the 1980 U.S. Olympic hockey team.
Yes.
And I know that sounds boring, but it's fucking not. Like, they actually have Al Michaels' original call of that game at the end of it from 1980.
Yeah, it's even just thinking about it, I get chills. It's one of my one
of the greatest
I love hockey.
One of the greatest motivational speeches of all time.
I mean, there's that, but it is the greatest sports moment in U.S. history.
Yes,
like bar none. You can't debate that. It really is, and what these kids, what they stood for at the time, and what winning that game. I mean, and that wasn't even the gold medal game.
Yeah, that was just to beat the Russians.
That was to get them to the gold medal game. But with everything that was going on in America during that time, it just meant so much to a lot of people, and they were able to capture that. And I love it when people really do their homework. And I remember watching The Miracle on Ice in 1980. It was a Friday. Oh,
it was a Friday night.
And they took on the Russians. But what a lot of people do not realize is once they beat them, they still had to win. Yeah, exactly. They still had to win.
Yeah, that wasn't the gold medal game. That was fourth place.
Right. And this is how excited they were just to beat the Russians, because the Russians were supposed to be unbeatable. And up until that point, they were. Yeah,
they just didn't lose. This was their fourth Olympics together.
Big guys too. See, I unfortunately was not alive yet.
I wasn't either.
I wish I had been to watch it in real time. So, I've seen clips and I've seen the interviews, and I've met Mike Eruzione. He spoke when I was in college.
Mike Eruzione, Winthrop, Massachusetts.
Yeah, that didn't really happen. But yeah, he
so
was a motivational speaker at the college. He was speaking
My
at the college.
My name is Mike Eruzione, and I am a motivational speaker. I live in a house down in the suburbs.
van down by the river?
No, he doesn't live in a van. He lives in a house in the suburbs. He's not Matt Foley.
So, anyways, I think I'm next.
Yes.
Another one of my favorite characters that we've covered. It's Jem. She is truly
I
outrageous. I love the Jem episode. It's one that we did a few years ago.
It was one of the first episodes we ever did. We actually booked her before we recorded our first episode. I was like, hey, we have a podcast. And she's like, I'd love to.
Was she in like the first?
She was in
the first year, like the first
calendar
first
year.
Season,
She was in because we started 6 years ago today, June 24th, 2015, and she came on the show in May of 2016 because we had been going back and forth. She had, various availability, and we finally were able to get her. And I remember showing you the email because you were having a tough day at work, and I went over and I was like, hey, check this out, and you're like, oh my god.
I think she was the first celebrity guest that we got for this show, and I remember being so excited and equally nervous at the same time. So for me growing up,
back when
Jem
you was a rookie.
Jem was it. She was fantastic. I live for Jem. I still do. I mean, she's the reason why my hair's pink. Well, one of the reasons, but being able to, what does that say?
Wolfie says, now, Ashes, I do think it was one of the greatest moments in sports. For me, during that same Olympics, the greatest moment was Eric Heiden winning 5 gold medals, as he was the first to do that.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either, but
I'll have to look him up. That's
pretty
big.
awesome.
I mean, like now, I feel like as far as the Olympics go, sometimes we're a little jaded as far as Michael Phelps going on to win. I think he won
20?
like 9. Well, I mean, like not 20 in one Olympics, but I think he won 9.
He won a whole lot.
Gold medals, just gold medals in one Olympics, or 9 total medals. I mean, I'm. This was a while ago. I don't quite remember, but like that was big for especially as something that had never been done before. So apparently the 1980 Winter Olympics in Lake Placid was the thing to watch.
Yeah, and just to throw it out there, the Bruins went to Lake Placid as they were underdogs against the Canucks. They went up there. What's his name took them up there? Claude. And kind of gave him the history and the tour about, the whole spiel about being underdogs and everything. And it worked. They won the cup that year.
But anyways, back to Jem. I think that show is fantastic. It's a cartoon that was on in the mid 80s. It only had a few seasons. It didn't run long, but I feel like a lot of cartoons during that time didn't have a long shelf life.
No, there were so many things coming out, and it was basically just how popular were your toys.
Yeah, pretty much. But I have the entire series on DVD.
Digital video disc, yes.
Yes. But anyways, Samantha Newark was so incredibly nice. And I'm not just saying that because she did a show and she was, no,
we've
she
met
really
her a few
is.
times.
Yeah, we've run into her quite a few times at different conventions and stuff. And, we've had the opportunity to interview her a couple of times, not only for the podcast, but for a couple of other things.
Mm-hmm.
And she is just so sweet. And, one of the things, and we've mentioned this before on the show, it's one thing to love a character, and then it's one thing to meet the person who portrays or who does that or who voices that character.
Yeah, who portrays the character.
But when that person loves and embraces that character as much as you love that character, it makes you love that character even more.
Yeah, because we've met a few people who were absolute jerks who were very well-known characters.
Yes, and we've met people who are like, yeah, I don't want to talk about that character. It's like, but I love that character, and they're like, yeah, I don't want to talk about that. Which is fine. That's up to oh, thank you, first time Mike. I was so nervous. This is my first time actually interviewing somebody, and I do better now.
Yeah, I was gonna say you were a rookie back then, and now you are so much better.
Seasoned pro.
You're a veteran.
Fake it till you make it. But anyways, yeah, Samantha Newark is just super delightful, and she's so nice and kind and giving to her fans. If you follow her on social media, you know that, and she lives that Jen life, 24/7. She loves the character.
Yeah, she's just.
She posted on Instagram, she went to a kid's birthday party, dressed up as Jem to surprise the kid.
Yeah, because she's awesome like that.
So if you want to come to my birthday party dressed as Jem, Samantha Newark, please do so.
We could probably get that. Probably make that happen. So my turn now.
Freak out.
I am going to go with an episode that this is a character that you had picked because it was a film series that you had never seen before and you finally watched it last year. I'm going to talk about our episode Stand By Your Sam.
What's Taters, precious?
Samwise Gamgee. One of the greatest characters and one of the characters that has been often imitated but never duplicated. We see Samuel Tarly, who is absolutely Samwise Gamgee.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these characters who appear unassuming, but actually they're the whole driving force behind the story. Looks like Wolfie says, I get what you were saying, Ashes. I've had the chance to meet some teenage crushes, and they've been wonderful and willing to embrace the characters they play. Well, that's good, because we've met some people who were kind of jerks.
Right? Like it just makes your experience with them just that much better.
And it wasn't because of the characters they played. It was because it's like, I'm this person from this film franchise.
You get that. When you go to conventions and stuff, some people just want your money. And I get that. Everyone has bills to pay and stuff, but I really appreciate those who take the time to acknowledge and embrace the fans.
Yes.
Because we've had conversations with people. We've been in some people's lines where it's just like, let me sign it. Here you give me your money. Here you go. And we've been in people's lines who, their handler, their manager, whoever's with them is trying to like rush us off. And the person's like, oh, no. I'm talking. I'm telling a story.
Yeah.
They can leave when I'm done, So I appreciate those people so much more, having, met both sides of the spectrum.
Yes.
of people at conventions. I appreciate those who really take the time to, and then there are some people who will take the time with you and you don't have to give them any money. They just are happy to be there and happy to be around the fans and to talk about things that they love.
Right. I just want to shout out our one viewer that we have on Twitch right now. Thank you for checking out the Twitch channel. Appreciate that. So who's your next one?
So my next one, my number 3, should come as no surprise. It's Cersei Lannister. I loved having the opportunity to talk about that character.
That's another one we disagreed on.
Love the fact that we had a guest, our friend Andy, former coworker of you, still current coworker of mine. Andy was a fantastic guest to have on because he was so knowledgeable of Game of Thrones in regards to the books as well as the television.
Yeah, we talked
series.
to him about Cersei and the Three-Eyed Raven, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But the Cersei episode, for me, I haven't read the books. The books are something that I don't think I could read. It would probably take me 5 years to get through just one book,
which it did for me. And then I read the whole thing and then I had to restart it. And then I've been stuck in the middle of book 5 for like 3 years.
I admire people who enjoy fantasy and can read fantasy like that. I can't do it. I think that's why it took me so long to get into the Lord of the Rings.
That The Hobbit took me 6 months to read. I tried reading the Fellowship.
Tolkien is just, oh my goodness. Obviously a great storyteller. We got some fantastic films from these stories, but I just can't read it.
It's very
and the same thing
dense.
goes for Game of Thrones. It's so and so, son of so and so, son of so, and it's just on.
You don't get as much of
on.
that in Game of Thrones. Like basically what you get to see the first couple of seasons is what you get in the books. But I know what you're saying. Like there are 21 characters just named John. So it's like it's very hard to keep track of who is who, where they are, and there's no time, so you don't know like is Brienne getting her face bit off by Biter at the same time as the Purple Wedding? Is the Purple Wedding happening at the same time as Daenerys's Dragon's Hatch? Like there's no like date. Like the only one event that you get to see is the comet. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I've read the Beowulf poem.
Oh
It's
my God.
high school.
Yes, I read Beowulf. Yeah, in high school.
And read Grendel as well.
And I don't believe I read that, but I did read the Beowulf poem, and oh my goodness,
It is. Yeah.
that was a daunting task. But if you are someone who enjoys stuff like that, I more props to you. You have my utmost respect, because I can't get through it. But I do enjoy, obviously I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan. I love the television series, and I love Cersei Lannister, and I loved having the opportunity to talk about this character and really delve into who this character is, how she was portrayed in the show versus how she is in the books, and discuss the similarities and the differences, because obviously with the show they reached a point where there was no more book content to go from.
They also didn't introduce a whole shit ton of characters.
Well, I mean, there's that too, but and they kind of like melded some characters into the same character. But anyways,
3,200 lines. I tried 4 different times. I got about halfway and just go, yeah. No, that's fair. It's not the same style that we are used to. It's not a straight narrative.
No,
it's a song that would be sung in halls. Like that's the story. Like that's those type of epic poems, they would be songs sung in great halls during fantastic feasts, and where to find them. But yeah, no, I'm with you. Like Cersei was a really good one, and there's still a whole bunch of really good Game of Thrones characters that we can cover, and like some stuff from the books, like how Bronn ends up having a child and names it Tyrion just to piss off Cersei.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, it's super funny. So I'll get to my number 3. My number 3 actually resulted in, I don't see where it is, I have it somewhere, in us winning the best interview, and it's the Megalodon cast. Where did I put it?
Back there.
Yeah, we got this at Scaricon, best interview for Throwdown Thursday. This is actually the same company that makes the Amalgamania award, so you can see the similar nameplate. So you'll have, if you get best interview, it'll say best interview in your podcast name. But we won this. We beat out 150 other shows for an interview, and we weren't an interview show at that point. We just because I like my sharks, I reached out to Asylum. I was like, oh, that's super exciting. I can't wait to see Megalodon, because I knew it was the Mockbuster from 2018. That was episode 101, by the way. The Mockbuster. So like whenever a big movie would come out, and that summer it was the Meg, the Asylum would put out, the Mockbuster, and somebody reached out to me on Twitter like, hey, that's gonna, thanks, thank you for your support. I hope you enjoy. And I was like, hey, I do a podcast. You want to come on? And he was like, yeah. And it was Dominic Pace. And so even then, because he's still, hustling and I mean, that's might not be the right word, but like he's getting himself out there, and he's going.
Yeah, he's hustling.
It was just Houston just named this past Saturday is now Dominic Pace Day in Houston, Houston, Texas.
Fantastic.
The mayor decreed it. So that's fucking cool. So that just shows you keep pushing and keep, striving and doing your due diligence and promote yourself as much as you can. And Dominic has gone, he's raised thousands of dollars for charities and small businesses across the country.
Mm-hmm.
We got a chance to meet him back in June. We're going to get to see him in July, about a month from now.
You'll have to remind me of the day.
Hustling Patsy. I believe it's a Tuesday, but I think there's one in Connecticut that's on a Saturday as well, or the other way around. I don't know. But there's 2 opportunities.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean, talk about, sometimes we forget that these actors aren't always celebrity actors. Yes, you have the actors who make the millions in the pictures and stuff, but then there are the other actors who are working actors and hustle their ass off, promoting themselves, trying to get work and obtaining the work, doing the work. We forget that sometimes.
Right,
we forget that this actually is a job. And as someone who does self-promotion, as someone who promotes every chance that she gets, not only ourselves but our friends.
Generally, we promote our friends, as you've heard throughout the show how many times we've promoted other people.
I have nothing but respect for those who promote themselves, who are trying to get ahead, who have a goal and are trying everything and anything to reach that goal, like nothing but respect. You see a lot of that in the podcasting world. You see a lot of that in the independent film world. And because
he's still
see
working.
A lot of that, in the arts, small business world. Like,
if you don't promote yourself, it's very difficult to get somebody else to do it for you.
Right.
Like, and that's the thing. People will go like, "Oh, I spent $500 on this plain white T-shirt because Kanye said I should," and then it's like, "Hey, will you listen to my podcast and contribute $1 a month to my Patreon?" I really don't have the money for that. I have to save up for $500 plain white T-shirts that have no markings on them in any way, shape, or form. So you'll have no idea. Like, this could have just come out of a Hanes package, but I paid $500 for it.
And here's the thing, social media is big. Sharing is free. Share a post, share a link,
get somebody else's eyes on it.
Make a comment. Anything that kind of gains,
like all the folks who left reviews on my book. Like, the more reviews you leave for things, the more it suggests something for the algorithms, which is why when you see like you're watching something on Netflix, did you like this? Did you not like this? They're using that to help form the algorithm.
To read your mind.
So that episode 101, Danger is Rising, which was the tagline of the movie, not only did we have Dominic on, but he got a lot of the rest of the cast as well. And so we had Pauline and Wynn, we had Elizabeth Cron, we had Ego Makitas, we had Carolyn Harris, and we had Dominic. So there was 5 folks on. So we got to ask them all about different parts of the movie. We got to see the movie, obviously. And then through them, we have become friends with the director, James Thomas, and one of the other actors, Amy Stolte, who we've had on the show multiple times, promoting some of the stuff she's done, promoting some of the stuff that James has done. I have a copy of Megalodon on DVD signed by both Eric. Jesus, I'm looking at the fucking comments. Signed by both Dominic and James. And First Time Mike says, I have a soft spot for the Asylum. They make no bones about the fact that they're making mockbusters and they want your money. I respect that. Yeah, I didn't know you liked shark movies.
Right?
Yeah.
Gasp! I'm so surprised.
I'm so startled.
So startled. Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed, but right here, this is a painting that one of our friends did for me. Like, this thing is sick.
But the thing I love about Asylum films is, exactly that. They know what they are. They're not trying to be anything else. And they're just fun.
The thing that we always say when it comes to these independent films is they're putting out an entire narrative and making an entire movie. Yeah, it might be, goofy and over the top, and maybe the CGI isn't great, but they're doing it in a week.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have 60 takes to get it right. They have maybe 2. So they have to hit their marks, know their lines, interact, get their emotions and everything. Like, that to me is much more respectable and relatable, especially someone who are like, in our normal jobs, you don't have 60 tries to get it right. You have to get it right the first or second time. and then you have to keep getting it right each time, and you have to put out a very quality product, I think that's more respectable than somebody that's like, oh, well, let's do 30 takes from 4 different angles. We have 120 takes. Let's just keep camera rolling for a little while. Like, let's see what we can get. Let's splice it. We have a whole team of editors, and most of the time, these guys are wearing multiple hats. Like James Thomas would, write and direct and edit. And there's a lot of different things. Some people will score their own movies. We've talked to a ton of different directors who write, direct, edit, score. They're also the director of photography. They run the set. Like, there's so much that goes into it, but there you have it. So who do you got next?
So my number 2, this is actually the second episode of Throwdown Thursday I was on. So fun fact, I was not always a host.
I asked you first for this is a story. I asked you first to be on the show, and you're like, I don't want to do podcasting. I don't have time for that. And then I asked Nicole, and Nicole was on, and then you were like, that seems fun. Can I try? And we had you on, and you were like, oh my God, this is so fun. I love it. And you've been on since. So
the second episode that I was on is we covered Dr. Frankenfurter from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. One of my favorite characters, one of my favorite films. I mean, iconic. And I feel like there are certain characters that we kind of covered early on that I feel like we didn't do them proper justice.
It's because we were still finding our footing. We
we were still a new podcast. We were still kind of trying to find our groove, get into things. And I feel like, covering the characters of Rocky Horror is something that we need to do, because aside from Dr. Frankenfurter, I mean, Columbia, Magenta, Riff Raff, Brad Majors, Janet Weiss, so many great characters came from this film. But obviously, none is more fabulous.
Riff Raffy.
Riff Raffy. He likes to eat apples and bananas. So I feel like this is one of those characters that we're going to have to revisit. But I loved covering this. I loved, just being able to kind of nerd out about one of the things that I love so much, and being able to talk about some of the history. Little Nell was always my favorite, right? She's so good. So good. And her as Columbia, just perfection, absolute perfection. So I feel like this is definitely one of those characters I want to revisit. But I love talking about not only the history of some of these characters, where they originated from, because Rocky Horror was originally a stage play.
Transylvania.
Yes, Transylvania. Transsexual Transylvania.
Yes, the planet of transsexual.
Yes. But being able to talk about some of the history of where, the film comes from, and everything else. So I like being able to put all of these pieces together to kind of give you some background about, the character and its impact in pop culture. I think that's one of the cool things that we do. We not only talk about, like, oh, I like this character because of this, and this character was established in 19 blah 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 blah. Like, that's all fun, but talking about the cultural impact that some of these characters have.
Yes.
And how Rocky Horror is the longest running film,
like midnight release film. Yeah.
Right, because it's still showing. Favorite song from Rocky Horror? Well,
you can't beat the reveal from
I think I have to go Sweet Transvestite, just because that reveal is everything, and I still cheer every single time I watch it.
I do like I'm Going Home, and then Riff Raff coming in.
The end too. When he's pouring out his cards for sorrow, cards for pain. And he wipes his eyes and
his makeup's all running.
His makeup is just trailing down his face, and it's really emotional. And I've seen some shadow casts that have done a phenomenal job portraying that scene in particular.
Yes. I have as well.
But I mean, I also, who doesn't love the time warp? I mean, the time warp is iconic. It's something that you go to a wedding and they play the time warp, because they try to get people to dance to it and stuff. I mean, I know every single word to every single song. Yes, science fiction double feature.
My favorite is science fiction double feature, mainly because it mentions all these awesome 50s movies.
And that was actually my first introduction to some of these things. I had no idea what they were referencing when I first
You still haven't seen Forbidden Planet.
No, I haven't seen Forbidden Planet, but I know of it now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it kind of introduced. So not only did this film introduce me to a lot of other things, but it also introduced me to a lot of other films and actors by mentioning it during, whatever happened to Fay Wray, Like I had no clue watching it for the first time who that was.
1933 King Kong, I knew who it was.
But
because I'd watched King Kong a whole lot when I was a kid.
So anyways, I could totally bogart this podcast and talk about Rocky Horror the entire time.
Well, let's move on to my number 2, which was the cast of the Snyder Cut, when we discussed that and we discussed how the characters changed with our 9 million other friends. Yeah, he says you must watch Forbidden Planet.
I will. I plan on it.
Who did we had? Jess Snyder, because we had to, because it's the Snyder Cut. We had Powerful Brandon. We had Leo. We had Colleen. We had Coop. Do we have anybody else?
Yeah, we had Steven from Super Retro Throwback Reviews. Version 2.0.
Yes, the audio files. Who is also in the running for. He nominated his show for a couple of Amalgies, we'll call them that. Yeah, that was a great show. We had a ton of it. That was like a 4-hour show. We were like, oh yeah, it'll be like 7:30 to 9:30, max. And it was like midnight by the time we were done. And then we talked for another hour offline, once we finished the show. I think that was one of our more recent shows, obviously, because the Snyder Cut just came out, I think, in March. But or May, I don't know. Every day is a goddamn blur now. But it wasn't so much the characters we were discussing. It was the fact that we were talking with all these people with all these different points of views. Like some of us liked it, some of us hated it, some of us liked certain things, some of us liked most of it, but didn't like this and that. And there was a lot of stuff that we pointed out that, like Brandon would say something that, the rest of us didn't know, or Leo would throw something out there, or Colleen would say something, and it was a nice debate between like what we thought and what we thought of the characters, because it was civil, and it wasn't just like, well, I hated it. Why? Because it sucked. Why? Because I hated it. Like it was, I didn't like it for these several reasons. Mm-hmm. This is why I didn't like this scene. This is why I didn't think this worked. I didn't get invested in this because of that. Like there were a lot of like real reasons why people didn't like certain things or why they did like things. So I thought that was good. So that's my number 2. What's your number 1 favorite show?
So this should come as no surprise. We talked about my favorite character at one point.
Sherry Bobbins.
Mary Poppins. And that was actually the first episode I was on. It's episode 3 of Throwdown Thursday. Mm-hmm. So, almost 6 years ago at this point, we talked about Mary Poppins. And again, we used to record episodes, like 2 episodes at once. This was back when we were recording at Castle Wolfenstein. So we recorded the Mary Poppins episode and we recorded the Rocky Horror episode. And let me tell you, I was in my glory. I really found my footing that day. I was drinking wine. I was talking about some of my favorite things. Mm-hmm. Again, Mary Poppins is one of those timeless classic characters at this point. And it's a character that not a lot of people, a little more so now because of Mary Poppins Returns coming out a few years ago. But up until that point, Mary Poppins wasn't a character that came into the conversation.
Not too often, no.
As often as some of these other characters. So it was just kind of nice to, have an excuse to watch Mary Poppins again, but I mean, like you really need an excuse.
That's another one of those movies we have on VHS, Blu-ray, DVD, and digital.
It's my chicken soup movie. Like it's just one of those comfort food movies for me. You know, it's my film equivalent to grilled cheese
and tomato soup.
I just, I love this film
fish
so much, and it's one of those. Regardless of the mood that I'm in when I start watching it, I'm going to be in a better mood when I stop watching it. When the film finishes. I love this character so much, Julie Andrews. I mean, enough said. But then you add,
Dick Van
Dyke in it, and the combination of the two of them are just it's practically perfect in every way.
Mm-hmm. And you have that tattoo.
I do. Yes, I do have a Mary Poppins tattoo. But it was really nice to just kind of sit down and, like I said, have the opportunity to just geek out over one of my favorite characters and have people want me to talk about this character. That's the thing. Everyone has favorite characters.
Right.
But, sometimes people talk about things in more broader terms. They
Abstract.
talk about they talk about the entire film. But we don't want to just talk about the film. We want to talk about the characters. We want to break down the characters.
Mary Poppins went to Hufflepuff.
She was not. No, I don't buy into that theory.
I mean, well, that's
don't buy into that theory.
Day. But so that's your number one, huh?
That's my number one.
My number one, it's actually a two-parter because this is one of my favorite characters of all time. But it's one that we've covered a couple of times because there have been multiple movies that have come out. And you can't talk about one of them without the other, as far as I'm concerned. So I'm going to go with episode 1, Let Them Fight, where we talked Godzilla. We talked the original 1954 Godzilla. And that might be the worst episode we ever did. But it was the first episode we did. And it was me and Nicole, mostly me, because I think Nicole was a little more nervous than I was and maybe not as gung-ho about being a podcaster. But it was, to me, like, it wasn't just that we were covering this character. It was like I was starting a new thing. Like I was trying something different that I'd never done before. I had been a guest on a couple of shows, but it's like, I want to do my own. I want to try this. I want to be able to do this. I think it's fun. I don't know where it's going to lead, and here we are 6 years later, still talking about stuff. But Godzilla and Kong, two of my favorite characters that we've covered. And Kong is always great, conversations about Godzilla, unintended Kong sequences. Like we're able to get great puns out of those names. Yeah, and you're spilling your wine. Well, there's tissues right there.
I have a drinking problem.
Yeah. Like what's his name in Airplane. But yeah, like there's just something about those characters that I've always liked. I've always been drawn to. I've been watching those movies ever since I was a kid. I knew who Fay Wray was, as a result of watching King Kong 900 times, and even watching some of the sequels and Mighty Joe Young. And, I finally watched Queen Kong a few years ago, and it's not very good. The sequel that came out in like 1987 with Linda Hamilton that takes place right after, Kong falls off the building in 1933. They skipped over in 1976 with Jeff Bridges and
Jessica Lange.
Jessica Lange. I was going to say Jessica Tandy, and I knew that wasn't it.
Nope, wrong person.
Nope. Jessica. But yeah. So those are our list of our favorites. We're going to take a quick break to hear a zombie talk about coffee. And then when we come back, we're going to do our characters that we want to cover going forward. So bear with us for about 30 seconds.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
So if you have not tried Deadly Grounds coffee, you're missing out. I personally like the walnut ones and
the maple walnut. Is
maple
so
walnut
good.
and black walnut are both very, very good. Toasted s'mores, one of my favorite. But yeah, do yourself a favor and get some Deadly Grounds. They're local. They're in Connecticut, and it's a small business. You'll be supporting a small business, and orders over $50 ship free. So get yourself 4 or 5 bags of coffee, 6, 12, 13.
But like, in all seriousness, it's some of the best coffee that I've ever had.
Yes, I can drink it without cream or sugar. That's how good it is. And I'm a guy who likes cream and sugar in my coffee. So I have like 12 things on my list here.
How many are honorable mentions? 6 of them?
No, I didn't really do honorable mentions for this because it's just like this is a list of characters I want to cover. So if you have 6, I'll do 2 each time.
Well, I have 6 because I follow the rules.
And
I
make
have
the
one
rules.
honorable mention.
So I make the rules so I can do what I want. But like a couple of these, like while there are multiple characters, I feel like we can't do one episode without them. So to start, I'll kick off.
Mm-hmm.
Vincent Vega and Jules Winfield from Pulp Fiction.
Royale with cheese.
I figure if you're going to talk, you can't talk about one without the other.
No, this is true.
You have to have both of those guys together. So I think those two, the story that they have, plus how they affect the wider Tarantino verse, including the movie that never got made, the Vega Brothers. I think that would be. You guys were pretty good. Thank you. We do our best.
You were way too kind on the earlier episodes.
Yeah, they weren't good, and I fully admit that. We are much better now. 261 episodes removed from episode 1.
It only took 6 years, but we're okay.
Yeah, we're getting better. We have an award.
Mediocre.
We got an award, so and that was for. It took us 100 episodes to get a good one. So, but our first good one got us an award. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna go. My first one, Vincent Vega and Jules Winfield. The other one I'm gonna do, and it's one you have to. This one can be spread out, but we can do one or the other in the next year because doing both might be tough because there are 700 episodes and 32 years worth of thing. Either Homer or Bart Simpson. We've not covered either of those characters.
Don't have a cow, man.
And we haven't covered either of those characters in 6 years. We've covered Ralph, we've covered Krusty, but we have not talked about Homer or Bart, which I think is unbelievable. But it just goes to show you how many awesome characters there are.
But here's the thing. This is your show. It's your fault we haven't talked about
No,
them.
it's not. We are a team, except when it comes to editing, producing, or recording, or. Well, other than that, we're a team. The talking part, we're a team. Talking and research.
I do the important thing. I show up.
I show up too.
I drink the wine.
I drink the wine. I still have some. So so that's my first 2. Who's your
So I'll start with my honorable mention. And this is something that I've been talking about wanting to do for a while. So it's no surprise that we're huge horror fans. And I know this isn't a strictly horror podcast, but we tend to delve more into horror characters around the spooky month. And, sometimes we have themes
we always
go in.
we always have themes.
So one theme that I have been dying to do, and I hope that we get to do it at some point, maybe this year, maybe you'll see it this October, is final girls. I want to delve into the trope of final girls and talk about some of these final ladies from these horror films. I'm looking at you, Laurie Strode. I'm looking at you, Sidney Prescott.
Ellen Ripley.
Yeah, Ellen Ripley.
Sarah Connor.
Some of these, not only talk about the history of what a final girl is, how the trope came to be.
I'm a final girl in a final world. I'm not getting stabbed, and it is fantastic. I don't know. That's although some of them do get stabbed.
Well, and that's the thing too. Talking about the history of a final girl, where they go from sometimes I'm a final girl, but I don't have any scratches on me and my hair is still perfect and I'm just so pretty, to like Samara Weaving at the end of Ready or Not.
Oh, so good.
Good. She has holes in her hands. Her wedding dress does not look like a wedding dress anymore.
You know what?
She's covered in blood, both her own and other people's blood.
You know what'll be a good day to record one of those? Monster Expo.
Well, that would be a really good day because, that's Monster Expo. It's Monster Expo.
With an H.
Happening up here in Massachusetts in
Haverhill.
October. Fairhaven.
Fairhaven. I knew it was Haven something.
Sure.
I'd be sad if I went to go to our hotel and we went to Haverhill.
But I think that would be a really interesting question to ask some people. Like, who is your favorite final girl? Or which final girl surprised you the most?
Yeah. So that's a good one. That's a real good one. I think we can, we'll absolutely do that.
We can make a series about it. It can be, a couple of episodes.
Oh yeah, especially if we're going to be getting sound from a convention, like that's always 2 episodes.
But then actually do an episode, talking about some of this stuff. So that's something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. I am really interested in the final girl trope and kind of dissecting it and, kind of going into the history. Now, I've done that before for another podcast. We talk about final girls, and not this podcast, but a completely different podcast that I was a guest on. And, I had a lot of fun doing the research, and I feel like that would translate well to some of our discussions.
Yeah, I think so.
Plus, I just want to talk more horror.
Yeah, I mean, October is definitely the right time to do it, but we can talk horror whenever the hell we want because that's us. We live the horror lifestyle 365.
Because it's our show.
I mean,
we can do
look at right behind
want.
me. That says Happy Halloween right here. That's always hanging up there.
Happy Halloween. Happy Halloween.
So for my next one, a couple of characters we have not covered, and I really feel like we should. And again, I was trying to keep this to a minimum without going nuts because I could come up with 200 characters that we haven't covered. And
well, good, because we hope to have more show.
Yes. Mace Windu and Obi-Wan Kenobi, especially where we have the Obi-Wan series coming out soon. Mace Windu, I think, is a fascinating character. Not just because he was played by Sam Jackson, although we'll see if we can get Sam Jackson on the show. That'd be great.
Like, be on my podcast, motherfucker.
I bet if we said it like that, he'd say yes.
He's like, well, since you asked nicely.
I heard that the L in Samuel L. Jackson stands for motherfucker. But yeah, that's definitely 2 characters that I think we could cover, and I think would be a really good show. So, and we know enough awesome Star Wars fans. I'd love to get Rocky back on the show.
I'm a Star Wars.
So what do you got next?
So first on my list, not an honorable mention, is actually one that was mentioned by somebody else. Gail mentioned this. Loki. I think Loki is going to be a fantastic character to cover. I think that we are going to cover him after the Disney Plus series ends, kind of talk about the character that was portrayed in
the variant Loki.
Right. There are all of these different variants, which I had no clue was a thing.
I didn't know either. Like, this is new. This is new.
Yeah. So, but apparently that's a thing.
And apparently the Tennessee Valley Authority is the most powerful force in the universe.
Apparently.
The TVA. Like, I don't know. It's weird.
But anyways, I think that would be a very interesting character to cover, both, kind of the comic book lore and the history
Norse
of
mythology.
I mean, I love some good mythology.
I used to read, there were a couple of books on Norse mythology I read all the time when I was in 6th grade. And to give you an idea of how awesome Loki was, he made a bet with somebody. I won't get into the whole thing, but he's like, if I'm wrong, you can cut my head off. And Loki ended up being wrong. And they're like, all right, I'm going to cut your head off. And he's like, okay, you just can't touch my neck. And the guy's like, you dick. So he's like, well, since your head is mine now, I'm going to sew your mouth shut. Like, we won't even have to get into the fact that, he fathered a 6-legged horse or banged a 6-legged horse. I don't know. It's very similar. There's a lot of similarities between him and Zeus when it comes to procreating. Like, some of his children are of the unique variety.
So I think that'll be a really interesting character to cover, and then talk about the difference between the way that he's portrayed or some of the storylines from the comic book and what we've seen in the Marvel universe leading into the Disney Plus series.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. So for my next one, I think we should revisit Cthulhu.
Cthulhu.
We can obviously talk about the mythos and like how the mythos has expanded, especially where we are involved in a Lovecraft adaptation film.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a little bit about some Lovecraft and get into so obviously we can have Mike on to talk Lovecraft because that's something that I've been talking about for a while. Brock the Dwarf. Yes. I didn't want to say anything. The where he transformed himself into a fly, a biting fly. Yes. No, I recall. That that handle was a little too short. Yeah, but yeah. She doesn't know.
I'm intrigued now.
I want to save that, so don't say anything.
Just wait till the Loki episode.
Cthulhu is definitely a character that has rich mythos, because we were just kind of talking about like a bunch of the different parts of the mythos and like not really talking specifically about Cthulhu. And I don't think that was a very good episode because I didn't know where to go.
And I wasn't on it.
Yeah. Not saying anything more. Thank you, Wolfie. But yeah, it's Cthulhu mythos is pretty good because there's so much that has expanded and like where it's gone in pop culture, how other writers have kind of adapted, like including myself, have adapted some of the stuff from the mythos. Like I have a Lovecraftian body horror story that's in the More Lore from the Mythos anthology. I have another story called Scavengers with more Lovecraftian monsters in the More Lore from the Mythos 2. There's stories like that in How Much Do You Tip an Exorcist? So there's a whole lot of stuff that has been influenced, similarly to how pretty much every fantasy story is, owes to Lord of the Rings. Anything cosmic horror or, something like that owes to Lovecraft. Event Horizon is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's that.
A film that I watched for the first time
recently
not too
watched,
long ago.
yeah, a couple of months ago.
Oh,
I got
my God.
I ordered the Shout Factory Blu-ray last May. I ordered that in The Thing. And The Thing came fairly quickly. And then I was supposed to get it in September, but due to COVID and everything, it took a while and it didn't arrive till March.
Yeah, so
but it was worth
recently
it.
Watched that.
Worth it.
Oh my God. Oh, so
you
good.
get to see Sam Neill in his
good.
horror roots.
I was not expecting,
because you're so used to just, oh, look, he's
that.
Dr. Grant. He's a nice man. Oh, look at him. And then it's like, no.
Yeah, you're waiting for him to pull a raptor claw out of his pocket.
The point is, you're alive when they begin to eat you. So let's show some respect, huh?
But yeah, that was fantastic.
What do you got next?
So next on my list, I feel that we need to dance our cares away. Worries for another
Casterly
day.
Rock.
Let the music play.
Plymouth Rock.
Down at Fraggle Rock.
Rock down to Electric Avenue. Wolfie says not so much a character as much as a creature, but cool to get into the myths, tales, and origins of vampires. That's a good one. I'm going to write that one down.
Yeah, actually, we did. I think we briefly touched on vampires during one of our Dracula episode.
Yes,
when we did
Steve.
our Universal Monsters.
Yeah, that was our theme from a couple of years ago.
Yeah, during October a couple of years ago. But I think that would be interesting to go into the history of vampires.
Werewolves, all that.
Yeah. I like that idea a lot.
Mm-hmm. I wrote it down.
But yeah, I want to talk more Muppets. I grew up with the Muppets. I love the Muppets so much. I am a Muppet. I am now a puppet, voicing a puppet and a puppeteer, which is super cool on the other side of midnight. So stay tuned for more information from that, because that's going to be some interesting stuff happening there. Let me just put it that way.
That's a lot of script to write.
And you got time. But anyways, I love the Fraggles. I can remember watching the Fraggle Rock just constantly growing up. I don't know what it was about the Fraggles that set them apart from the other Muppets. I mean, I love all Muppets. I'm an equal opportunity Muppet lover.
That's a little weird. We'll need to get coupon for the Muppet episode.
Not like a plushie, not a furry, but
no felt fiction.
Yeah, no felt fiction. But anyways, I think the Muppets are fantastic. I think what Jim Henson created and what he contributed to the pop culture zeitgeist at this point.
And we recently saw the original pitch meeting
for
the
Muppets, which is just
if you haven't seen it, it's on YouTube and it's absolutely goddamn brilliant.
He had the Muppets pitching the Muppet Show, and it's just it's so good. Like, his mind was just absolutely brilliant. But there's something about the Muppets that just it just feels right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's just something about Muppets that, again, kind of like Mary Poppins. It's comfort food. You're going to be entertained.
And we did watch that Muppets Now show.
I liked that a lot. Again, a lot of the Muppets. So and you can find the old episodes of the Muppet Show now streaming on Disney Plus as well. We should just get paid by Disney Plus to talk about those.
Disney, give us some money.
Streaming service.
You have plenty of it.
Yeah, so I have to go with the Fraggles.
Need pictures. Oh, they're right there. The Muppets are right there. We've posted pictures. Let's go with the Fraggles. We have that poster in our room, our bedroom.
That poster. Actually, I got that poster in college. That's followed me. That's
still
followed
have
me around.
So for the next one, there's a couple of characters that obviously wouldn't be able to do the entire history because, as we mentioned earlier in the show, they have close to a century of story. But Batman and Superman, there's a couple of characters that I feel are very. He has the first 3 seasons of the Muppet Show on DVD. Very nice.
Nice.
Batman and Superman are characters.
Sorry, I just want to sidestep to the Muppet Show. The guest stars that they got for that show, even early on.
Rocky III had a cameo from the Muppet Show.
Phenomenal guests, and obviously, the guests just got even better as the show progressed.
Who was the first one? It was like Rita Moreno.
Yeah,
the first episode was Rita Moreno.
It's like Oscar winner Rita Moreno. Dancing with the Muppets.
Yes, Superman and Batman are definitely characters that we need to cover because we haven't, and there are different storylines, and obviously we'll have guests on for this, but you haven't seen the original Superman series that Richard Donner did with Christopher Reeve, have you?
So
And Hackman?
I know of them, and I think I've seen bits and pieces of it. So my dad watched them growing up.
So we're gonna have to rewatch those.
Yeah, but it's not to a point that I can't recall exactly what
Fun
happened.
fact, right now, as we speak, Powerful Brandon is visiting with Old Man Wade because Old Man Wade has never seen the 1978 Superman film, and they are watching that together. That's what's going on. That's why they're not in the live show, because they are watching Superman. So just throwing that out.
I mean,
well, the guys that booked the show were old vaudeville bookers, so they knew Milton Berle and others. Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, I didn't know that.
I didn't either. See, Wolfie knows. Wolfie's throwing out knowledge. So who's so I've got 3 left now.
So next on my list is so it's a twofer. It's 2 characters because you really can't talk about one without the other.
How dare you?
What do you mean?
You get one character per spot. You can't have all these extra characters.
I know. Who do I think I am? You?
Me? Only I, my dad.
It's Romy and Michelle from Romy and Michelle's high school reunion.
I believe it's Romeo and Juliet is how it's pronounced.
No, it is Romy and Michelle. I love these 2 characters. I love this film. It is such a really interesting take on like a buddy film. Usually you get those with like male actors, but you don't necessarily get them with female. It's not yes, that is a Romy Funko Pop signed by
Mira Sorvino. Beckett authenticated. Hell yeah, I bought this for her.
It's my sister and I, it's one of our favorite movies to watch together, and I just love the story. I think it's fantastic. 2 friends who have been friends forever continuing their friendship, and their friendship means more to them than it's not a love. It's a love story, but it's not your typical love story. It shows that love comes in all different
it's a platonic
forms and
platonic love story.
Right. Yeah, and
Plato would be
finding
proud.
your purpose, and realizing that you don't need to put on a facade and pretend that you are somebody you're not just to appease other people. Just be yourself, because that's how they they have fun just being
Say
themselves.
Friend one more time.
Friend.
So
Friend.
My next one is a character that we haven't covered because I don't know a whole lot about this character other than is in a recent animated series that we watched and an upcoming movie that we're going to see, King Shark. King Shark is 100% a character that we need to cover.
There's a shark on your list?
I know, right?
What?
I was thinking about like Bruce the Shark, but like there's only so much we could do with that. But I'm sure if we got guests on, we could go off on tangents. But yeah, King Shark. So I have 2 left. How many do you have left?
I have 3.
Okay, so go ahead.
So next on my list is a character. I'm so surprised that we haven't covered it yet because I adore this character so much. We have this character throughout the house in various forms.
Patrice Bergeron.
Yes, Patrice Bergeron. The character hockey player Patrice Bergeron. No, SpongeBob SquarePants.
We got to have 8-inch Alchemy on for that.
Yes, I love SpongeBob so much. So SpongeBob came out.
I believe it's pronounced SpongeBoob.
SpongeBoob. And obviously, if we talk about SpongeBob, we kind of need to talk about Patrick.
SpongeBong Hemp Pants and his friend Hashrick.
Krusty Krab.
And Crystal.
This is Patrick. I think he's a really fun character. He's been around for a while, so I believe that it came out in 2000. Definitely the early 2000s. And I've been obsessed with him for a long time.
That makes sense.
SpongeBob. Yeah.
I'm looking for
really
something specific. Yeah, it was. Some people have seen our awesome little intro with what's his name?
Tom Kenny.
Yes. So my number 2 is actually one that Coop mentioned. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe is a show that I grew up watching, and I didn't realize how terrible it was until I tried to rewatch it. But this new version looks so amazing, and I'm very much looking forward to it. But that amazing SpongeBob came out in May of 1999. It's got the amazing cast that we talked about. It's got all the, updated versions of the characters. Like in the trailer, we get to see like Skeletor shoot like a lightning bolt or like this huge energy blast, and Orko fucking stops him, like zaps it away with his own magic, which is incredible.
I'm not going to lie. I don't recall ever seeing any He-Man episodes. My only exposure to He-Man is that YouTube video of He-Man singing to What's Going On.
The Four Non-Blonde song.
Yes.
I mean, that's fair too. But yeah, He-Man is definitely one. And we'll have to watch the original film with Courtney Cox in her film debut. And Dolph Lundgren and Frank Langella. That film actually has the first post-credit scene I can ever recall seeing.
Really?
Yeah. And we didn't know about it. Like, we accidentally left a thing on, and I saw it, and I was like, oh my God! I freaked out and, like, grabbed everybody. And
Is that the live-action one?
yes.
So...
Angelica Pickles. She's in it, too.
Angelica Pickles?
Yeah, she played...
The Rugrat?
No. Christina Pickles. That's her name.
Angelica Pickles.
I just remembered Pickles. Hold on. She was in...
I like pickles.
But it was
not
great.
The live action...
and Meg Foster.
I was going to say Meg Foster was Eva Lynn, correct?
Yes.
It was speaking about, a person who is...
Christina Pickles had been in St. Elsewhere.
Speaking about somebody who has been so nice to their fans and stuff at conventions, Meg Foster is one of the nicest people you can ever meet.
I like stuff about yeah, but you know what? Wolfie said I like stuff about the trailer, but hated the fact that they used Holding Out for a Hero. I fucking loved the fact that they used Holding Out for a Hero. I love that shit. There is nothing that you can add that to, like any like heroic chasing. Like, I remember the first time I saw that used wasn't in Lethal Weapon 2, even though they played it like 6 times. Wasn't in Lethal Weapon 2. The first time I heard that song.
Was it Shrek?
No, fuck that. Shrek ripped off Short Circuit 2, which is a song that was playing when he was chasing everybody down, and it was fucking amazing because it was such a great montage. No. Like that, you add that to any like heroic thing. Remember, we saw the clip from Star Wars when they did that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and how much better did it make that scene from Star Wars? And we're talking Rise of Skywalker end fight scene. How much better was it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was amazing. So anytime somebody wants to use that in any like heroic, yeah, I'll use that every time. I will take Holding Out for a Hero. I don't care what it is. So you can. I said He-Man, so you can go.
Okay, thanks. So next on my list is Disney villains. I have a love for classic Disney villains, and some of the newer ones too are pretty fantastic. But I'm talking, we did talk a little bit of
Cruella Devil.
Yeah, so we
Maleficent.
Talk a little bit about them during our Cruella conversation.
Didn't we do a Maleficent episode?
No,
I thought we did.
No, we haven't.
Oh.
But Maleficent's one of my favorite. Cruella and Maleficent and Ursula, they're like up there. And I do also love the Evil Queen from Snow White. So I think it would be a lot of fun to do kind of like a series of Disney villains.
Was it a mid-credit scene? Because Wolfie's saying the Muppet movie had a post-credit Muppet caper along with many others. Yeah, but is it a mid-credit scene or like all the way the credits were done rolling and then they did it. Because I thought those were like mid-credit scenes. Like they had stuff pop up while the credits were still rolling. Like they would stop the credits, show the scene, and then go back. Because they did that. I remember doing that with the Muppets. Like they had stuff going during the credits.
Mm-hmm.
But this was, credits were done, everything was over, and then you get to see Skeletor. And it was amazing. And I lost my goddamn mind. But credits are done rolling and Animal tells everyone to go home. All right. That's for, and what's his name did that too? Ferris Bueller. Did he not?
I think so.
Okay. But I don't recall seeing that. The first one I recall seeing was Masters of the Universe. But clearly there were others. But the first one I remember seeing was Masters of the Universe. And that's only because we accidentally left the VCR on and like everybody got up to go do stuff. And I was just sitting there. I forget what I was doing because I think I was like 8, 9. And I was like, oh my God. So yeah, He-Man. So what do you got?
I just said.
Yeah, Disney villains.
Yes.
I didn't know if you had any more specific.
No, I was just saying just Disney villains in general. I think that Disney did a really fantastic job of creating these villains, and you're supposed to not like them. I get that, but I love them. I think they're great.
Like the Incredibles and all the people that they killed. We did that episode. Incredibles has a higher kill count than all 4 Jaws movies. Just saying.
So who's your next one?
My number one is an episode that we said that we would do, and we were going to have a guest on for it. But unfortunately, we cannot have that guest on. But I want to cover Bender. Because we were supposed to have Riku on for the Bender episode. He wanted to do a Bender episode, so I want to do a Bender episode.
Well, I did hear that Bender is great.
Bender is great. Bender B. Rodriguez. Now, is this just animated Disney villains?
Yeah, I think just the
Jack Sparrow's a Disney villain.
Classic animated Disney
so like
villains.
The Evil Queen from Snow White, Maleficent, Ursula, the guy that shot Bambi's mom. They said Ferris Bueller was the same thing. Yeah, I mean, Scar, Ursula, that jerk from Up.
Just because I think, no, not the jerk from Up. No, I'm talking like classic villains, like Jafar.
Jafar was the royal Vizier.
Stuff from like maybe the early to mid 90s and back.
I mean, you're going back 60 years. I mean, if you're talking Snow White, that came out in the late 30s, early 40s. So I mean, that's fine. I'm just saying, like, it's a range.
Well, I'm not saying we're going to cover all of them. I just thought it would be awesome to do a series covering some of these Disney villains.
Yeah, we could do like 4, 5, 6 of them. Like, don't matter to me. I'm fine with anybody.
Well, then why are you arguing with me?
I'm not
Stop
arguing.
it.
I'm just, I'm trying to figure out your time range. You're like, yeah, from the late 90s back. I was like, that's a long way. There's a lot of movies. Edgar Balthazar. I don't know who that one is.
I don't know who that is.
Is that the dude from Hunchback? I don't know. Balthazar, or maybe what's his name? Pocahontas.
No.
I mean, the real villain in Pocahontas was, the white people. I mean, that tends to be true. The Aristocats.
Oh, yes. Yes.
The Siamese cats from Lady and the Tramp.
Yeah. I haven't seen the Aristocats in so long.
I don't think I've ever seen the Aristocats.
What?
I don't think I've ever seen it.
What? I mean, you did just watch Oliver and Company for the first time a couple of years ago.
And I don't even remember it.
You don't remember Oliver and Company?
I remember watching it, but like it left no impression on me. Like I don't recall. Like I couldn't tell you anything that happened. I would have to rewatch it again. I don't remember it at all.
Has a little orange guy.
I know I like little orange guys, but I don't remember it at all. So what's your number one?
The Rose family from Schitt's Creek. Somebody needs to watch Schitt's Creek.
I never heard of it. This is probably the first time you've even mentioned anything about that show.
Yeah, I don't talk about it at all. I've only seen it once.
You definitely don't have any T-shirts or all the Funko Pops.
No, not at all.
No. So I don't. This is about the guy who he's in a river. He's trying to row his canoe, but he doesn't have a paddle.
Yes, the Rose family. Yes. No, I want to talk about Schitt's Creek. I want to talk about Moira and David and Alexis and Johnny Rose. You need to watch Schitt's Creek.
I'll give it another shot.
It's a fantastic show. And if you don't want to watch it, I will kick you off the show. I will bogart an episode and I will invite some people on who want to talk about it.
Good luck producing it without me.
Well, you can do.
Oh, I can do all the work, but I can't be on the show.
Well, because you don't want to watch it.
I didn't say I don't want to watch it. I said I'll give it a shot. Oh, The Fox and the Hound. Yeah.
Oh my God, The Fox and the Hound.
Yeah. Wolfie says Dog Catcher from Lady and the Tramp. The Aristocats is one of my two favorite Disney tunes. The other being The Fox and the Hound. How about Judge Doom? Roger Rabbit, Judge Doom, Christopher Lloyd.
Oh my goodness, I haven't seen Who Framed Roger Rabbit and
I haven't either. Al Pacino from
decades.
Dick Tracy, because I believe that was put out by Disney.
Was it?
I might be wrong, because I rewatched that last year and I was like, wow, this is definitely like a Batman movie. This is 100% like down to the music, which was Danny Elfman, and the fact that it was just everything that he did, he was Batman. Or Batman was him. I mean, I think Dick Tracy came out first. Because as we know, Batman is essentially just Sherlock Holmes and the Shadow. So I think that's about it. We did all of our characters, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I don't have any.
Well, I mean, we do have battle results from last week.
Oh, well, let's hear about the battle results from last week.
So let me pull it up. So why don't you stall while I do stuff?
The battle results are brought to you by punching and kicking.
Wow. The battle results are brought to you by punching and kicking.
Well, I don't.
Okay. Thank you, Patsy.
Well,
you're
I'm
such
trying
a good
to stall. I'm stalling.
No, so to refresh your memory, last week's episode, we talked about Divine in honor of Pride. And, the fact that Divine was a character, and even though Divine played different characters, the character of Divine herself was a character played by Glenn Milstead. And, the difference between who Glenn was and who Divine was, where that line is, how Divine got her name, thanks to John Waters. And the life and unfortunate untimely death of Divine. I think that Divine and John Waters working relationship, because obviously their friendship would have continued regardless, but I think that they would have their working relationship, they would have done more films together as well.
Wolfie says live action Disney villains would also be cool, like in the Mighty Ducks. So like what, like Sweden? No, who'd they face at the end?
I forget.
I remember the bad.
I remember liking those. I do enjoy those films.
Gunnar Stahl was the name of the the team captain. Snowball Express. I don't even know what that is. The Apple Dumpling Gang with Don Knotts. My brother likes that movie. I don't know. They don't seem like much of a gang to me, but I don't know what Snowball Express is. I'm completely unfamiliar with that.
Yeah, I would have to look that up.
I'm sure it is on Disney T.
So the battle results from last week, we threw down a divine disagreement. The quest for Cha-Cha heels. There is only one pair of Cha-Cha heels, and everyone wants them. Which divine character has the chutzpah to oust the other characters and be the last one standing in Cha-Cha Heels. The Sandbox was a dog park, and the special guest referee was John Waters' mustache. And you could choose from the characters of Dawn Davenport from Female Trouble, Edna Turnblad from Hairspray, Babs Johnson from Pink Flamingos, or Rosie Velez from Lust in the Dust. And both Facebook and the Twitters are in agreement that it is Babs Johnson from Pink Flamingos.
Wolfie says, I need to watch Snowball Express and that you need to watch Forbidden Planet. We will be getting on that.
Yes, I have a list of stuff that I need to watch, and that film is actually on that list.
Yes. So we're just shy of 2 hours now, so let's wrap this up under 2 hours. Thank you to First Time Mike and to Wolfie for staying and hanging out with us, and whoever else is watching. You know, folks jumped in and out. Not everybody left comments, which is totally fine. But I want to thank you for sticking around, sticking with us for the 2 hours, and spending our birthday with us.
Thank you to Justin Cooper for sending the wonderful feedback, and thank you to Gail for posting a comment on the Facebook post
with her characters. And
thank you, all of you, whether you're watching live now, whether you're listening to this after the fact or watching this after the fact. Obviously, we wouldn't have done this for 6 years without you.
Yes.
So thank you so much for all of your support, and just for pressing play.
Yeah. And with that being said, we will see you next Thursday. Bye.